Award. It's really an honor to have been nominated for something like this, and to be invited back here to speak is it's very cool. It's also just great running into so many old teachers and seeing so many familiar faces, many unfamiliar faces also, but fifth grader actually just told me they Googled me, which I think is kind of an award in itself. So anyway, coming back to Overlake has brought back so many memories of my time here. Just hanging out with friends during Free Block and going to a lot of those classic but quirky Overlake events like the film festival and what used to be the Mr. and Miss Overlake pageant, or editing for the school newspaper. Used to be editor of the newspaper, and I spent a lot of time in my editors brainstorming fake news headlines when we couldn't come up with good enough real ones. I was looking back through some of our newspaper editions, and we had a lot of run lines like English teachers rejoice to find Christ Reader references in Cat in the Hat, and libraries deploy aggressive shushing maneuvers and unending war on laughter. Those are actual headlines that we ran. And anyway, when I started back at Overlake in sixth grade, I was painfully shy. I was speaking up in class terrifyingly, and I was constantly overthinking whether what I had to say was smart enough or clever enough, but most of the time I kept quiet. My report cards always had that standard comment of Bright needs to speak up more in class, so class participation was always just the bane of my existence. To give you an idea, one time we had a substitute teacher in class actually that was taking attendance, and my name was so long, because I'm Indian after all, that the attendance sheet cut off my name halfway through the N Shivani, and so she called out Shivar, which is not a name. And I said here, like I was too shy to correct my own name. And then enough time had passed that it became awkward to correct her. And then before I knew it, for like 45 minutes, I was Shivar. So you can imagine my pain when I entered freshman year English and had to start the year with Army's speech unit. And back then the thought of having to give a speech in an assembly like this would have been enough to make me want to accept being called Shivar for the rest of my life. But I got over it eventually by the time I graduated. I actually got kicked out of the library once for talking too much, which honestly I'm still proud of. And I'm not sure I would have if it weren't for teachers like Army and Lisa Ornstein, Emma Allen, and Janet Rothwell, who invested a lot of time getting to know a shy kid like me, and so that getting to know me outside of the classroom until I was basically confident enough to speak up inside of it. And fortunately, I've built up enough confidence over the last 15 years that I will correct any mispronunciation of my name now within at least like the first hour tops. Currently, I work at a lab at Fred Hutch, and a lab that studies cancer immunotherapy, and specifically a form of it called CAR T-cell therapy. So many of you in the audience maybe know someone who suffered from cancer, or may be familiar with some of the standard treatment regimens that are used, things like surgery, radiation, chemotherapy. Basically what we try to do is stop the cancer by pulling out the parts we can and killing off the parts that we can't. In the last 10 to 20 years, what we've realized is that your immune system, whose job is to defend you from viruses and bacteria that are dangerous to you, is also capable of detecting and eliminating tumor cells. And some people's immune systems are able to do this well naturally, but what our lab is trying to do is to be able to make anybody's immune system able to do this. And we do this by extracting out the immune cells from a patient, engineering them in the lab so that they can detect the tumor, and then infusing them back into a patient where the cells can then go out and seek out and destroy the tumor. And this is something that, when we've tested in clinical trials, has worked really incredibly well. It's something that just recently got FDA approval, and it's been really incredible to watch. You know, these are normally entering a clinical trial for a patient is a last resort. These are people who have very advanced stage disease. They failed every line of treatment available, and they're often given a prognosis of just months to live. And they enter this clinical trial with really, there's no guarantee that there'll be any effect on their disease, and within a few weeks they have a complete response. And that basically means that they're not able to detect tumor anywhere in their body. It's the kind of advance that my advisor has referred to as once in a lifetime. So accordingly, there's been a lot of press and excitement about it. In 2016, then Vice President Biden visited our lab during his cancer moonshot tour, and I got to be what's probably best described as a human prop in a very staged photo op where I got to show him what T cells look like under a microscope. I've also somehow become a poster child for the Hutch's fundraising campaigns. which has allowed me to accomplish my long-standing goal of being an internet pop-ed star. So if you visited the Hutch website in the last year or so and been immediately bombarded by a pop-up featuring an Indian girl asking you for money, that's me. And I'm sorry they used my picture without asking. But the challenge now is getting this treatment to work for all cancers, and some cancers are a lot trickier to treat. They put up defenses to trick the immune system into not being able to see it, and they can put up secrete things that basically shut down the function of the immune system. And so my job has been really trying to look forward to the next 5 to 10 years of trying to anticipate some of these hurdles that we're going to encounter and to develop strategies around them. And at the Hutch, I get to do this by taking the data that we get from patients on clinical trials and basically trying to understand what's working and what's not. To take those insights back to the lab where we've set up animal model systems and in vitro systems where we can really test out mechanistically to understand what things aren't working and why, and to kind of develop strategies around those hurdles. And then the goal is to eventually then take those strategies back to the clinic where we can test them in patients and start the whole cycle over again. And the hope is that with each time we learn something new that will move the field closer towards this goal of finding a cure for cancer. So how did I get here? You might think that I was always interested in biology, that I was always involved in science fairs growing up and had my sights set on being a scientist early on. I actually found some old schoolwork I did in first grade at my parents' house the other day about what I wanted to be when I grew up. And I had answered an artist, and I compared it with a drawing I made of an elf that I had captioned, "I can spell elf." So let's just say that biology was not a really love of mine, and also that I'm sure my old art teacher, C.J. is probably so disappointed that I didn't pursue my obviously true artistic calling. But my actual path to scientific research has been less linear and filled with a lot more doubts and steps along the way. In many ways, I don't know actually how I ended up in biology, because I don't think I was exceptionally talented at it. Being Indian, I was better at math. No offense to any Indians in the audience who are not good at math, but let's be honest, you probably are disappointing to your parents. But I'm out of the field where the only math I use is unit conversion, so my math skills have completely atrophied, so don't worry, I definitely disappointed my parents as far as well. But math, chemistry, organic chemistry, those subjects came a lot more intuitively to me. And I remember biology being one of the more boring classes that I took in high school, and a lot of that was just because so much of it was memorization. You know, you memorize the Krebs cycle, the cellular respiration pathway. It didn't really have this creative problem-solving aspect to it that seemed more accessible in things like math and chemistry, and even the humanities. But I remember taking Lisa's advanced topics class, which I don't know if you guys love to take that, but we started studying genetics, and that was really what hooked me. We read this book, Genome, by Matt Lee, and basically he writes it so that each chapter is focused on one gene on a chromosome, and he uses the research and experiments related to it to discuss a larger biological issue like to what degree is intelligence inherited, or if there's a genetic component to language. Lisa was always really great at trying to expose us to the real-world implications of all the stuff that we get to memorize. And I remember she had hosted an evening screening of that movie Gattaca, which is still one of my favorite movies. So I think it's safe to say that it was a combination of Lisa and 1990s Ethan Hawke that really spurred my interest in biology. Because suddenly all of the interesting questions for me started to come from biology. But the other side of biology and science in general is being able to have the technical skills to conduct experiments. And I was great at theory, but I was terrible with mechanics. Some of my classmates were so precise with their dissections and with their measurements, and for some reason, glassware was always breaking around me. Probably because I was the one breaking it. I always had doubts about whether I could really survive in a lab. And so I tried working in a lab at UW during summer in high school just to see how I would fare. And I was very lucky to work in a small lab with a professor who met with me every day. So each day we would give papers to review, the next morning we would sit down and we would discuss each of them. We would talk about what I did understand, what I didn't understand, how to always look at the data first and then decide whether it fit a paper's narrative, how to do basic things like PCR, running a gel, data analysis. I still have the picture of the first gel that I ever ran saved in a notebook at my parents' house. And I remember at the time it felt like this huge accomplishment, like, here I am doing real science. But I realize now that what I once spent a whole summer doing, I could easily do now in like 2 weeks. So it was really a credit to the professor to take that much time with me because I in no way contributed to the productivity of this lab. And if anything, probably detracted from it given how much time they spent with me. But if you can find a lab or a mentor like that, it makes all the difference. It is tempting to always want to work in a cutting-edge field or high-profile lab, but if your goal is to become a better scientist, then what matters is what you do in the day-to-day grind. You need time to stumble and to ask stupid questions and figure things out in a stress-free environment to really learn properly, and that takes someone's time and patience, which is very rare to get. So by the time I started college, I was pretty sure that I wanted to study biology, and like a lot of people, what interested me about biology was how it related to human disease. But I wasn't sure early on if I wanted to go into medicine and to be a doctor, or if I wanted to go into research, which might require getting a PhD. And I spent a lot of college deciding back and forth between the two options. Early on, I actually tilted more towards medicine. And a lot of that was because I volunteered at a local children's hospital, which is still one of my favorite experiences from college. It was also because my first research experience in college was not a great one. I was trying to get more lab experience, and I had taken an advanced lab class. Where you basically spent 2 quarters designing a project, pitching it to a committee, defending it, then actually doing the experiments, and then presenting your results at the end in like a symposium. And it was basically a mini version of the qualifying exam that I would eventually take for my PhD. But the class was also centered around yeast genetics, and I ended up working on a project that characterized the function of an unknown gene in yeast by trying to characterize what happened to yeast when I deleted the gene. It was so boring, and it's so much work that I have a hard time even now describing it in a way that doesn't put me to sleep. I hated going to lab 8 hours to check on my cultures, and I remember seriously doubting whether majoring in biology and going into research was the right move if I wasn't passionately moved by yeast genetics like my classmates seemed to be. But the turning point for me regarding research came my junior year when I took an elective on immunology. That was my first exposure to the subject, and it just took me right away. You know, there's so many complicated things that your body is able to do on a regular basis. It can figure out the minute something foreign enters, it can determine whether it's dangerous or if it's harmless, and it can work to eliminate it, remember it, so that it never harms you. And there was so much left to understand about how it's able to accomplish all of that. It was because of that class that I started eventually working in an immunology lab for my undergraduate thesis. And that was when I realized how much of a difference it makes when the question you're asking is actually interesting to you. I actually enjoyed going to lab then, and I didn't mind staying late to finish an experiment because I actually wanted to know what the result was. And it was an important lesson to me to really take the time to spend figuring out what it is that you really enjoy doing. Because the same task can be fun or it can be a chore depending on what's driving you. For me, it was not yeast biology, it was not cellular respiration, and I learned eventually that it was okay to not love every aspect of biology, but that often you have to figure out what doesn't interest you before you're able to figure out what does. The further I got into research, I realized that the part of medicine that really interested me was the part where medicine failed. You know, the diseases that we didn't have treatments for, and figuring out what was going wrong so that we could even begin to understand how we could fix things. And so I realized that a little bit too late that I didn't want to be a doctor. And so even after taking the MCATs and going on interviews and halfway through the medical application process, I decided not to go to medical school. And I instead decided to stay back an extra year after college to work in the lab that I was working on to finish my project and to apply to graduate school instead of only a year. So eventually I went on to get my PhD in immunology and got to really dive deeper into the field and really learn it through first-hand experience. It's where I learned how to really do research, how to think and talk science, both in and outside of the lab. I did my PhD research on a type of cell called T cells, which are basically the foot soldiers of the immune system. And by the time I was graduating, they were just starting to see success of using these engineered T cells to treat cancer. And since I'd always been interested in understanding immunology in the context of human disease, that was basically how I ended up in the lab where I am now at Fred Hutch. I try to take what I know about T cells and the immune system and use them to create therapies for this form of cancer. So in the end, research can actually be a correct decision for me. It's not always cutting edge. It's not always exciting breakthroughs and eureka moments. But in fact, I would say most of science is failure. You know, your experiments don't work, your results are all negative, that great idea you had ends up being wrong. It's just myths after myths after myths. But it's also why when you do get something to work, or you figure out that answer to that question that's been bothering you for years, it is so satisfying. It's, you figured something out about the world that no one else knew before. So given that I'm still in the middle of my career, it's hard for me to think of what advice I can give you from what I've experienced so far. In science, we would say I'm interested in like one, so just take everything I'm saying with a grain of salt. But I had a daughter last year, Asha, and that means in addition to spending a lot more time thinking about poop and other bodily fluids that will remain unnamed than I ever thought possible, I also think a lot more about what it would be like for her growing up, and what I tell her to help her navigate her own path. The first would be to seek out good mentors and to build a good support system. That's something that for me really started at Overlake, this habit of getting to know your teachers on a personal level, where you're more as comfortable talking about schoolwork as you are about current events and TV shows. Those relationships are a large part of what helped me come out of my shell in high school. And you don't really realize it until you leave the Overlake bubble that it's not that common of a high school experience to be on a first-name basis with your teachers. So take advantage of those relationships now and seek them out in others in your life, because it's so valuable to have people who you look up to who will patiently tolerate your stupidity and will nevertheless root for you throughout your career. The second would be to not worry so much about the big picture of where you're going to end up. I know seniors are probably going through college applications, and there's often this pressure to put some kind of larger narrative on their experience, like you know exactly where you want to go, and every experience you've had has been building towards this goal. There's pressure to do it even now when I'm giving this speech, just recounting all the steps that have taken me from Overlake to where I am now. But when you're writing personal statements or creating resumes, it can be easy to believe that everything works in this nice linear way, that you did some stuff in high school which informed your college choices, which informed your career choices, but it's a false narrative, and one that only exists in hindsight. My experience has been shaped just as much by luck and timing as any drive or focus that I had. I was lucky that an immunology elective is what fit my schedule in order. And I was lucky to have had a good research experience after that terrible yeast genetics class that might have pushed me away from research altogether. So focus instead on what you can control. Take the time to figure out what interests you and what doesn't. And when you find something that does excite you, just do the work and let that guide you. Obviously, this advice applies more to kids your age than to Asha, whose greatest loves right now are unrolling the toilet paper in every bathroom and finding all the open electrical sockets, and we're actively trying to find her new interests to pursue. But figure out your weaknesses and put in the time to work on them. For me, it started with learning how to speak up in class, and evolved into learning how to not create glassware all the time in the lab, to figuring out how to design experiments, to even today where I'm at the cusp of another career transition at the end of my postdoc, and I'm trying to figure out how to run my own research program and eventually lead others. It's a continual work in progress, but it's also the only way to keep improving so that when luck does come your way and opportunities appear, you're ready. All in all, I think life can be similar to science in that your path from start to finish is rarely linear. More things will fail than will actually work. But in the end, you learn from both, and because of that, you just keep improving slowly with each iteration. And don't worry, because at the end, you can put whatever narrative